The U.S. and Russia are set to begin negotiations over ending the war in Ukraine, even though Ukraine does not have a seat at the table. How that country is responding to not being invited to the talks about its own future.
Texas lawmakers are calling for an investigation into the state lottery. How one attorney says the commission helped a company win $95 million.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
This afternoon, we're showing you a live look over downtown Austin. Clouds have started moving in a whole lot more since we last showed you this shot above downtown Austin. Temperatures warming up just a little bit there. I'm seeing now we're in the low 50s at this point.
Okay.
For some.
Yes, for some here.
We're right on target for the temperatures, but we did not expect the clouds to come in this quickly. Yeah. But this is what happens when you have a southerly flow. But we're not seeing too many of them out in Bee Cave. Here's a look at our covert Bee Cave automall camera. 53 degrees at Camp Mabry with a mostly cloudy sky. In some areas, one of our weather cameras in Lockhart shows an overcast sky. You can check it out, KXAN.com, weather and traffic tab, and then go to the webcams. Wind is now out of the south at 8. That 53 feels like 53. We are in the low 50s for a good chunk of the area, a few that are still deep into the 40s. Burnett, San Marcos, Lockhart at 40 and at 49 degrees. The wind southeast to south. We're getting wind speeds now again at around 5 to 10, but a few about 12 at Cameron and Rockdale, 14 at Georgetown, 15 at the Gillespie County Airport at Fredericksburg. So there really isn't much of a wind chill right now. When you get into the 50s, it really doesn't matter. We will be in the 50s through the afternoon. Some will get into the low 60s before too long. We stay in the 50s this evening through tomorrow morning, get back into the 60s tomorrow afternoon before the colder air arrives. And that's what we're tracking for you because this is going to be the coldest air of the season. So when will the front arrive in your city, and is there going to be any rain or anything beyond that? And we'll address that in a few minutes. Sally?
Okay, thank you. As we wait to see those temperatures start to drop, we know the state is getting ready to respond to whatever's coming.
Yeah, and Governor Greg Abbott shared an update about the state's plans earlier today. That includes directing more than 400 Texas Department of Transportation road crews to go out and pre-treat roads, bridges, and overpasses starting this past weekend. He also already directed the agency to deploy its winter weather road equipment to maintain any treated roads. The governor also says he asked the Texas Division of Emergency Management to have field staff workers work with local partners to update warming centers around the state.
The more you expose your body to temperatures outside, the more that you pose a risk to your health and safety, especially for prolonged periods. So just be very watchful and cautious about your exposure to ultra cold temperatures.
And now if you or someone you know might need some help during this cold snap, 211 is a free resource to use from any phone. You can call that directly and it will send you to some help that's available locally.
The Trump administration plans to meet with Russian officials this week in the Middle East, starting to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war. However, Ukraine might not even have a seat at the table.
Ukrainian officials, though, are in the Middle East, but so far they have not been invited to participate directly in any meetings with the U.S. and Russia. Those negotiations are expected to start in Saudi Arabia tomorrow. The meeting will upend years of American policy, effectively ending the isolation of Moscow following its invasion of Ukraine in 2022. These negotiations come after President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke earlier this month by phone.
And the Trump administration says both Ukraine and Russia want to end the war. However, the Ukrainians say they have not been formally invited to those talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country is not going to honor any agreement unless Ukraine is part of it.
I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them, and Zelensky wants to end it too.
Sir, when do you think that could actually happen? When do you think the fighting can stop?
Well, we're working to get it done. I mean, you know, it's too bad it started. It would have been a lot easier to end it before it started.
One phone call does not solve a war as complex as this one. But I can tell you that Donald Trump is the only leader in the world that could potentially begin that process. Other leaders have tried. They have not been able to do so.
Those talks are set to get underway tomorrow. Unclear, though, how long it's going to last.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked an order from President Trump on gender-affirming care for transgender young people. This comes after several Democratic attorneys general from states like Washington, Oregon, and Minnesota sued the Trump administration just last week. 3 doctors also joined as plaintiffs in that suit. Judge Lauren King said the president's order, quote, blatantly discriminated against trans youth. The decision came one day after a federal judge in Baltimore temporarily blocked that executive order in response to a separate lawsuit filed on behalf of families with transgender or non-binary children. A new Texas bill is waiting to be assigned to a House committee for votes and debate. It would prohibit insurance companies from requiring prior authorization before covering preventative HIV medication. State Representative Benton Jones of Dallas filed that bill. And according to him, Texas ranks second in the country for new HIV cases during the 2023 legislative session. He estimates Texas sees 5,000 new HIV diagnoses each year. Here in Travis County, it's seen a steady rise in cases over the past 4 years. That's all according to Austin Public Health.
Texas senators are calling now for an investigation into the Texas Lottery Commission. An
attorney sent an accusatory letter to Texas lawmakers. He says that commission, the former executive director and a company that lets you buy lottery tickets online, all conspired to defraud people. The attorney, Manfred Sternberg, made several allegations against Lottery.com and the Texas Lottery Commission. Sternberg says the commission helped the company win a $95 million jackpot back in 2023. A spokesperson for the website says none of the current company officers was in an executive role at that time. The Lottery Commission says it is actively investigating these claims as well. Now state senators are demanding answers.
The former executive director just was able to retire, and from what we've read, it looks like he was very much involved in enabling money laundering, and that's a crime, and it should be investigated.
We reached out to the former executive director, Gary Grief. His team says that he denies being part of any fraud. On Friday, Sternberg filed a class action lawsuit against the Lottery Commission and Lottery.com in Harris County. The lawsuit is filed on behalf of Texas lottery players who they say were defrauded. Housing advocates here in Texas want money from Washington to help build starter homes. Last week, they went to D.C. asking the government to help close the gap between building a home and making one affordable. Habitat for Humanity leaders from Dallas say the rising cost of land and construction, labor shortages, zoning regulations, all of that have slowed the production down of homes for low and moderate income buyers.
There is a lot of urgency around the issue. I mean, you heard even during the elections, both parties talking about the need for affordable housing throughout the nation. There are more bills than ever that are being introduced to address affordable housing at the federal level.
Habitat International spent the last 2 years developing the Housing Supply Accelerator. The idea is to use federal money to build and rehab homes and increase the supply of starter homes. If approved, it would be available to nonprofit and for-profit builders.
We want to turn now to some comments from murder suspect Luigi Mangione. He is addressing his supporters directly from behind bars for the very first time.
And those statements come as a new documentary is out today exploring the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. As the accused killer gets closer to having his day in court, NBC's Sam Brock has those details.
Accused killer Luigi Mangione speaking out from inside a jail cell for the first time. In a message to his supporters on a new website, Mangione, in his own words, writing, "I am overwhelmed by and grateful for everyone who has written me to share their stories and express their support. While it is impossible for me to reply to most letters, please know that I read every one that I receive." His defense team launching the website on behalf of their client to provide accurate information about his cases and dispel misinformation.
It's uncommon to hear from a defendant behind bars like this because most defendants don't generate this level of public interest.
Mangione now bolstering his counsel ahead of his court appearance later this week while awaiting trial at a federal jail in New York City.
Not guilty.
adding a court-appointed death penalty legal expert to his team after pleading not guilty to several charges, including first-degree murder in the furtherance of terrorism and the federal count of murder using a firearm that could result in capital punishment. In the midst of the brewing legal battle, a new investigation discovery documentary, Who is Luigi Mangione, is out today on Max, all about the murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, featuring new first-hand accounts about the accused gunman at the center of it all.
He's just like a normal, happy-go-lucky kind of 26-year-old guy. I don't know what would motivate someone like that, you know, to do something like that.
Ahead of the Ivy League grad's upcoming court appearance, money from supporters is now pouring into his legal fund, reaching nearly $500,000. Some reportedly from healthcare professionals, according to organizers.
One doctor who donated says, quote, "I applaud Luigi for his courage, heart, and passion."
The notoriety and extra resources could come in especially handy for a defense team, say legal experts.
The money he's able to raise is a benefit to the defense in a case that otherwise, to outside observers, appears to be a really difficult one for the defense to win.
A cat rescue group in Leander really needs help to make sure the vital medical care that it provides for strays can keep going.
KXAN's Mercedes Hernandez spoke with the group to find out a little bit more about the work that they're doing and joins us now here in studio. Hi there, Mercedes.
Hi, how are y'all?
Doing well.
Yeah, I know that these cats are doing pretty well, at least for right now. The guys that I spoke with are called feral lifeguards over in Leander, and they told me that an unexpected change is really what's caused them to reach out and ask for this help. Now, I spoke with Lori Frederick. She's the one who leads the rescue and says that they've been running now for 5 years. In that time, they've helped thousands of cats, both feral and friendly, lead healthier lives. Some of them finding homes and some were just safe to be through their trap, neuter, release programs. Last fall, she says they started doing in-house spaying and neutering services with help from local vets that volunteer their time. That's a crucial part of curbing feral cat overpopulation, which often leads to more suffering and a poor quality of life for those cats. Frederick says their lease has been cut short, giving them only a few months to raise enough money to make sure that the life-saving work that they do can keep going.
If we have to stop again, it's going to go back to the impact that we had when COVID shut everything down, where we have to pause and our request backlog grows again. And it really is heartbreaking to have to say no to people.
And Frederick says the group hopes to raise $100,000 to make this move. You can find out more on how to help them, maybe consider fostering, guys.
Maybe.
Yeah, in the article on KXAN.com. How are we about cats? I know Will's a cat person.
Absolutely. I have one, and she is about 15 now, so she's been with me through 4 different states and 4 different moves. So
does she need a friend or not?
She really likes dogs, I'll say. Cats, a little questionable.
Okay,
Sure.
Nice, nice.
But this story also reminds me of because it's going to get cold out there, we really do need to take chances to remind people about keeping their pets safe during the cold.
Bring them in on Tuesday night because it's going to be very cold Wednesday morning. We go out to Dripping Springs. The Ally Medical Emergency Room camera seeing clouds steadily increasing there, but more sunshine than we're seeing in the Austin area right now. Pollen count this afternoon, mold, cedar, elm, willow all showing up low. We also might be seeing the first ash of the season. Molds are a little bit higher today, cedar and elm lower, and willow unchanged. All right. Clouds continue to steadily increase across the area as we get further into the afternoon and then tonight through tomorrow morning. And then we start seeing areas of rain by as early as 12 to 3 o'clock that will continue on into the late afternoon. The Arctic air mass arrives up in San Saba and Lampasas counties between about 2 and 4 o'clock and races south through Williamson and Burnett and Llano counties. This is the 6 o'clock forecast. An hour later, it should be south of Austin. And then by 3 hours after that, it should be completely out of the viewing area. What rain we will see will generally occur before the front arrives, while the front is here, and after the front goes, we don't have any significant or any really precipitation during the evening. Wednesday afternoon will be a little bit brighter. 1 o'clock temperatures will be in the 50s. I think some of these numbers may be a tad too low given where we are now. We get further into the afternoon with 60s for the most part. some upper 50s, but we'll go a general range of 59 to 62 and be happy with that. All right, by tomorrow morning, we start out with lows in the 50s. It'll be much warmer tomorrow morning than it has been over the past few. By 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, we're in the mid and upper 60s in many areas to the low 70s in the Western Hill Country. That 65 in San Saba, I think, is fine, but I think that 57 in La Paz is a bit too low, and the same for that 59 at Burnett. Here comes the front. By 10 o'clock Tuesday night, we start getting freezing temperatures in the north and northwestern Hill Country. About 5 hours later, this is 3 o'clock Wednesday morning, we are seeing a widespread freeze for most of the area, slightly warmer. Now, I don't want to call it that. Higher temperatures, mid-30s across Bastrop, Lee, Fayette, and Caldwell counties, so that by sunrise we are in the mid and upper 20s to low 30s. Everybody at freezing or below by 7 to 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. And then as we get through the day on Wednesday, afternoon temperatures will climb into the upper 30s to some in the low 40s. Here come the winds by 7 o'clock Tuesday night. Gustier winds in the Hill Country, 20 to 30, 25 to 35 by midnight to 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. Those winds stay up through the morning on into the afternoon and then start to subside Wednesday night. So we've got that to deal with. And then we're not done with precipitation. We have some rain coming in off a disturbance in the southern part of the state that will last through Friday into Saturday. And then we see the skies clear and Sunday will be sunny. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Exactly 1 week from today, many will recognize the start of what's known as the National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. This will highlight how eating disorders impact many here in the U.S., especially women and girls.
And with that in mind, we want to take some time to talk through the warning signs and what treatments exist out there. So today we're joined by Robert McFerrin, who's the executive director of the Eating Recovery Center. Robert, thank you so much for talking to us about this. It is a sensitive subject, no doubt, but it's a needed one. So I'm hoping that you can start by talking about what we should do if we suspect that a loved one is suffering from an eating disorder.
Hi, thanks for having me. So eating disorders are, one of the highest one of the disorders that have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, only second to opioid addiction. So it's incredibly serious. If you suspect that someone that you love, or if you suspect that you might have an eating disorder, having a conversation with a doctor or a therapist is really important. We also have some resources on our website at www.eatingrecoverycenter.com. There are links to some friends and families groups that are free to join, and you could go in and learn about eating disorders or learn how to support somebody who you suspect might have one.
Robert, I think it might be helpful to remind people about what are some of the symptoms that perhaps they should look out for.
Absolutely. So some of the things that you might see in somebody who has an eating disorder would be a shift in eating habits, sudden noticeable changes in weight, someone that feels cold all the time, someone who's having hair thinning or hair loss, someone who's preoccupied with a fear of weight gain, new or unusual eating habits or food rituals, compulsive exercising, and withdrawal from friends or family. These are just some of the signs that you can look out for.
It's not a new problem, right? I was just telling Will before we got to you that I think social media may make people think that they need to look a certain way. Does that play into an eating disorder?
Yeah, so social comparison really can play into eating disorders. People having a desire to look a certain way and having constant reinforcement that they should, or even comments that they should look a specific way can really contribute to the complications of eating disorders.
And Robert, what kinds of treatments exist for someone who might suffer from an eating disorder?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of treatment out there. There's everything from hospitalization and residential treatment, which is 24/7, down to outpatient services that are once a week or twice a week with an outpatient therapist. And then in between, we have what we call partial hospitalization. That's typically 5 to 7 days a week for about 6 to 10 hours a day. At ERC, we do 7 days a week, and it's 10 hours a day, and they get all of their meals and snacks here. And then there's intensive outpatient, which is a few days a week for a few hours.
What do you say when we were talking about teenagers or just young people in general? How do you talk to them about if you suspect that they do have an eating disorder? What do you say?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that you can try to approach it. My philosophy is just be direct, ask the questions, don't be afraid. You're not going to cause somebody to have an eating disorder by asking them about it. If you have hesitation about approaching it, I think asking a therapist, asking somebody that you trust, how to approach it could be a really great option.
Good advice, Robert McFerrin. Thank you again for joining us.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
12:30 is your time as we take a live look outside at the skyline. You know, the clouds have started to roll in. Rich, you said these are not rain clouds, but it is going to bring something else that I think a lot of us are a bit concerned about.
Yeah, the rest of the day for some will be gray, and for others where the clouds will not fill in until later on tonight, it's going to be sunny, and most of that will be out in the hill country and up to the north. But we'll see a little bit of rain out of some of this cloud cover tomorrow, but no freezing precipitation. I cannot stress that enough. What I will tell you is that what rain does fall tomorrow afternoon, if there are some puddles left over, there could be some patches of ice, not from the sky, but still on the ground, because the temperatures will drop well below freezing as we get into Wednesday morning. But the clouds continue to move in from the south to the north. Hill country temperatures 50 to 58. 58 at Marble Falls is the warmest right now. Metro temperatures 51 to, we've got still 49 with a thicker cloud cover in San Marcos, up to 55 at Lakeway. And as we check out our eastern viewing area, we're all in the 50s right now, closing in on 60 currently at Weimar. Winds are coming out of the south to southeast, 5 to 10, a few reporting 10 to 15. So there is some gusting into the upper teens to some low 20s, and that will continue primarily in the hill country for the afternoon. So we're going to talk about the timing of the front. That's the most important part of the weather story that we have coming up in just a few minutes. Sally?
Okay, thank you. Just into the newsroom, we know this afternoon ERCOT has issued a weather watch from February 19th through the 21st. It's because of the extreme cold that we've been forecasting across the state as well. Higher electrical demand is another thing, and it's the potential for lower reserves that they really want you to watch out.
Officials at our power grid manager say that grid conditions are expected to be normal during this watch. You can monitor the power grid on their website, ERCOT.com.
Israel's security cabinet had plans to meet today to discuss the second phase of the government's ceasefire deal with Hamas.
This comes even as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu voiced his support for President Trump's plan to take over the Gaza Strip. NBC's Hala Garani shares more from Jerusalem.
Israel's security cabinet is today discussing phase 2 of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Meantime, an Israeli team has traveled to Cairo to discuss the implementation of phase 1. Now, that same team will be getting instructions on the second phase of this ceasefire agreement once the cabinet meeting has ended. Meantime, Marco Rubio, the new U.S. Secretary of State, is traveling on to Saudi Arabia after a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister in Jerusalem yesterday, in which he endorsed Donald Trump's controversial plan to take control of the Gaza Strip and forcibly expel 2 million Palestinians. Meantime, Egypt is proposing a plan of its own that would involve Palestinians staying in place, but that excludes Hamas from the process. A reconstruction and revitalization plan. Now, the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank is going apace, with 1,000 new housing units approved in a Jewish settlement inside the occupied territory. Hala Gorani, NBC News, Jerusalem.
Today, Pope Francis remains in a Rome hospital. The Vatican this morning announced that he has a complex respiratory tract infection. A Vatican spokesperson says the Pope spent this morning eating breakfast and reading the newspaper as he keeps receiving care. The 88-year-old pontiff was admitted to the hospital Friday and was listed in fair condition following a week-long bout of bronchitis. No time frame was given about the length of his hospital stay.
The Department of Justice firing multiple immigration judges, and that's according to NBC News. It's a move that comes after immigration case backlogs have reached record levels during each of the last 3 years, according to the Congressional Research Service. A union representing immigration judges says 5 mid-level assistant chief immigration judges and 13 candidates to become new judges all got termination notices on Friday. They say that since the start of the Trump administration, more than 24 immigration judges, managers, and new hires have been fired. The Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security did not immediately respond to our request for comment.
The city of Austin has created a brand new department. Its goal is to sustain and grow Austin's creative sector.
And for many years, the city spread cultural affairs programming and resources across 5 different departments. Now the city promises the new Office of Arts, Cultural, Music, and Entertainment will unite related programs under one umbrella. The city says the office will provide a more cohesive and accessible experience for residents and visitors and expand the reach of effectiveness with a joint initiative.
When you have people that are just siloed, that all they do is music or all they do is event production, what happens is a lot of things get lost in translation or things fall through the gap. Have people who are experienced in the industry, who know events, know cultural arts, and can bring their expertise together and go, okay, how can we effectively collaborate?
Austin City Manager T.C. Brodnack said, quote, under a unified office, we can improve how we provide services and create synergistic opportunities that attract tourists, generate revenue, elevate Austin's profile as a cultural destination.
Going in depth, the arts and culture industry in Texas helped generate $7.3 billion for the state's economy over the last decade. That's all according to findings from the 2025 State of the Arts report. It also found the industry grew more than 60% during that same time span. Statewide, almost 1 million Texans work in creative sectors. Downtown Austin provides city's visitors the chance to check out festivals, restaurants, and of course, live music.
All of it and all the construction going on around it. Just last week, the Austin City Council approved a new plan called the Downtown Austin Strategic Initiative. Council members hoping to keep downtown safe, accessible, and vibrant while the projects transform the area.
A vibrant, well-planned downtown, one that prioritizes mixed-use development and improved public spaces that drives business success and brings people of all backgrounds into the heart of the city is a downtown that I want to live in, that I want this city to have.
City says the new office will minimize disruptions to the following areas: mobility, the arts, economic development, public safety, and homelessness.
This weekend, thousands of runners hit the streets in Austin, including a few of our colleagues here at KXAN. They all took on the Ascension Seton Austin Marathon, Half Marathon, and 5K. Now, one of those runners also crawled half the distance. Summer Willis spent Saturday crawling a half marathon, then ran the rest Sunday. She did it to raise awareness about the need for sexual assault policy reform. Willis is a survivor of sexual assault. Following the race, she and Texas lawmakers spoke about their plans for policy reform this session.
I kept on thinking about that final finish line moment where I got to be joined by true change makers that could make a difference for not only myself, but for survivors everywhere in Texas.
This session, I intend to work with my colleagues to continue to improve our laws to ensure every survivor has access to the resources and support they need to find justice.
This is Summer Willis's 30th and final marathon.
Starting tonight, Lockhart High School students, you can take college-level courses. Lockhart voters approving this by joining the Austin Community College District back in November. ACC is offering classes to high schoolers in the evenings, and also on the weekends. They'll be at Lockhart High School until renovations are complete on the town's historic Ford building. ACC bought the 20,000 square foot facility to convert it into a learning center. Looking in depth on this one, Austin Community College expansion projects is something that's been going on. In September, ACC announced that it would be starting construction on a new building for their Hayes campus. Specifically, that one's going to focus on medical science alongside plans for a new campus in southeastern Travis County. That one is meant to focus on skilled trades like auto collision repair. And there are also plans to add a health clinic and wellness center to their Highland campus.
Today, of course, is President's Day, and this is where the U.S. celebrates the birthday of its first president, George Washington. Now, the way that the nation has celebrated the birthday has changed throughout the years. According to historians, George Washington was never one to really openly celebrate his birthday. It was his peers in government who did so. In the 1800s, the holiday was commemorated with parades and other festivities before it turned into the shopping and long weekend getaway that it's known for now in the 20th century. Fun fact, a small number of states, including Illinois and right here in Texas, observe Lincoln's birthday as a public holiday, with some celebrating both Abraham Lincoln and George Washington together on President's Day. A bit of history to be able to share with everybody out there, because I'm not sure that's exactly widely known.
No, I think you're right, and especially on a day where a lot of kids are not in school. A little lesson for them today.
A good reminder.
I like it.
Good thing they're off today. They have outdoors activities probably, and so that's a good thing. But if this were Wednesday or Thursday, it's like, we got to stay indoors. We'll make the upper 50s to low 60s later this afternoon on this President's Day. We climb into mostly the mid to a few upper 60s tomorrow before the front. The front gets in during the evening. There'll be a little rain ahead of it and along it, maybe a few showers behind it, but no frozen precipitation. We guarantee that. Temperatures in the 20s on Wednesday morning, 30s to low 40s Wednesday afternoon. Teens and 20s with wind chills in the single digits on Thursday morning. The recovery will only be in the mid to upper 30s. And then we drop to the 20s again on Friday morning, 30s Friday afternoon. This is a broken record. Or we'll be at freezing in many locations on Saturday morning. We get a little warmer with upper 40s, mid and upper 40s, but there will be some rain Friday, Saturday. We'll keep our eye on the Sunday or Saturday morning forecast for any precip that could do things we don't want it to do. And then warmer for Sunday morning, and then we'll be in the 60s on Sunday afternoon. So we have 2 days to get ready for the freeze, protect the plants, protect the pipes. Don't forget that dripping the faucets is extremely important. Take care of the pets. Make sure the elderly have a warm place to be, because this is the worst cold that we will have this season.
Yeah, and reiterate that about the wind chills, because Thursday, that's the really big thing to watch.
Single digits, and it'll be the coldest that we had since, I think, 2021, when we had some record lows on the 16th of 7 and 6, but we had some colder wind chills because we did have some wind. So it'll be just like that.
All right, got to cover the plants yet again. Took off the covers, put them back on. Yeah. All right, everybody, we want to say thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. We'll see you back here in about half an hour with another update. For now, enjoy your afternoon. Take care.
Bye-bye.